Here we are, episode 15 of Pop Kannon. I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Brian.
Guys, what are we here to talk about today in episode 15?
My brand new microphone. Oh no.
If only there were some sort of major film that released in the past week or two.
Oh, yeah, Hellboy.
No, that's a little out of our range here. I was thinking more of The Curse of La Llorona.
Of La Llorona.
La Llorona.
La Llorona.
So as everyone knows, La Llorona is it's a Nordic fairy tale.
Jordan, the two L's is a J sound.
Llorona.
Is this just a new thing that we do in every episode?
Yeah, and then Jordan called it Nordic.
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Nice Fade.
Avengers Edamame. No, wait, that's not it. Yeah, so
Fucking Endgame.
Endgame.
The long-awaited sequel to the emotionally crippling Infinity War.
Yes.
And it wasn't any less emotionally crippling.
More so somehow.
Yes. Absolutely more so.
So there's permadeath.
There's a lot.
There is so much to unpack from this 3-hour film, and we're going to somehow...
Spoilers, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
Also, spoilers, you're probably going to hear one or more than one of us get choked up while talking about this.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the movie, do not read the comment section on literally anything.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because
and
there's
shut this podcast off and come back to us.
Yeah, also that. Yes, don't listen to us.
So you've been given your warning. Black Widow and Tony die.
Jesus Christ. Rip that Band-Aid off.
Anyway, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, we pick up with Clint.
Wearing his ankle monitor from Civil War, I would assume.
And that scene from Jump Street got me emotional.
Yep.
Because I knew what was coming.
Accurate. Yep, absolutely.
My heart sank.
We all knew what was happening there, but it was no less emotionally just devastating to watch. So he goes berserk.
Yeah.
Well, that's all he gave a shit about.
His entire family was dusted. So that would drive anyone insane, I think.
Now, Jeremy Renner,
good Lord,
out of all of the Avengers movies that he's been in, this was his movie to steal, in my opinion. He sold it so well for me. I was very, very happy with the way that we got Clint presented in this film.
In all of his scenes, all of his scenes, he was emotional, whether he was angry emotional or sad emotional, or just like he just went off. Jeremy Renner did such a fantastic job.
And I feel like he really shut up all the people that are like, oh, well, what do we need just a regular human Hawkeye for? What good could he do on the Avengers? I think he really kind of shoved it in all their faces throughout this movie.
Well, in Age of Ultron, he had a much bigger presence, and that movie was very much more centered on him. But I agree. This movie, he got to plumb some emotional depths there, and it was a great performance.
Yeah. For sure. I don't think that there was necessarily a bad performance, other than something we'll get into a little later.
All right.
Okay.
This is one of those things that it probably was super obvious to everyone that it was going to happen. But I told Rob about this, even like I guess maybe once the first trailer came out, and I was like, you know what, I haven't watched it, but I'm going to make a prediction that his entire family gets dusted. I wish I hadn't been right about that, because that was devastating to start off with.
Because he wouldn't have been able to do what he did in becoming Ronin if they all didn't get that.
Right. The just about 2 out of 3 showings in that first scene, he turns around and his daughter is already drifting away as dust, and there was in the first 2 showings I saw it of just an audible gasp of
There was a lot of people that just kind of quietly went, oh no.
You felt the tension in the room almost immediately.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, this is what we're doing.
I'm also going to spin you guys a yarn of the 2 dudes sitting behind me to the left in the theater. because we went on a wild journey with these guys.
Well, we want to hear about the two dudes behind you to the right.
Yeah. No, they were fine. They were quiet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lame.
There's something going back to Hawkeye's family. It's just how understated the dusting is in these two movies that just makes it somehow even more devastating to see. You know what I mean? It's not like a big showy thing. It's just
his two sons and his wife just
Vanished.
disappear, and they're in an open field. There's nowhere for them to hide.
Yeah.
And him just running through, like, whistling, and he's like, boys.
Yeah.
He's like, Laura. He's screaming. Like, it was so guttural, you felt it.
You see him turn on the Hawkeye face for a second.
Yep.
And he kind of, like, takes a stance and is, like, looking around, kind of monitoring what's going on.
And we see Tony and Nebula playing a wonderful little game of paper football.
Dude, and
Yeah.
after Guardians 2, I very much enjoyed Nebula and her arc that she eventually took, which we actually get back into in this film.
Yeah.
Which it kind of broke my heart a little bit. So 2014 Nebula with current Nebula, it was such a contrast.
Yeah.
Well, I really just like the moment when they're eating the rations and Tony offers it to her and she kind of just pushes it back to him.
Yeah.
Just the little moments like that, or when they're playing paper football, or...
Yeah, talk about character development.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I very much like that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Well, because she finally won something. You know?
Yeah.
Because Gamora, growing up, was always the one to win.
Yep.
She would always lose. So for her to win a little moment like that meant so much to her.
Absolutely. And, yeah, it was just the way that she... I don't know necessarily say lovingly, but caringly put Tony into the chair once he fell asleep. You know, pretty sure that he was probably going to die and she would outlive him for a little while. Yeah, that was also rough.
Yeah, because our first viewing, Amanda leaned over to me and she's like, "Is he dead?" And I was like, "It looks like his heartbeat is coming through his carotid in his neck. I don't know."
Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
he did
dead.
not look good.
No, oh my God! So
Good
they
Lord.
did a great job of him looking very gangly.
He was just
3
gone.
3 weeks with very little food.
Well,
Lost all sorts of weight, and he was all bony and gross.
It's like you didn't, at least in the theater I saw it in, no one really noticed until when he's, recording the thing for Pepper, when he kind of leans back.
Yeah, he has a jacket on when they're playing paper football.
Yeah.
And you can't really tell. But yeah, once he turns the helmet on and makes the hollow recording, yeah.
There was a few there. I heard it was the two guys behind me to the left went, "Oh damn." Yeah.
Oh, so you got a live commentary track on the film?
Oh yeah, I gave him like the little half turn at one point in the movie, but as passive aggressive I can get.
Yeah. And then Captain Marvel shows up and brings him home. So
white savior. Anyway,
And just like that, she's gone.
and then she brings the ship back to Earth, and there are no issues. And then she just, plops it down, and she's like, "There he is," and does whatever she does.
So there's a practical thing with inconsistencies between this and Captain Marvel. This her scenes for this were filmed before Captain Marvel filmed.
Right.
So they're
Really?
I don't think they had really nailed down everything for that character before this, which is kind of a shame. You wish they had done Captain Marvel first and then done this, but they filmed Infinity War and Endgame back to back. So
Right.
there was really no way to do that. But once ship is landed, and then Tony's greeted by Steve, which I thought was a really nice moment for a second, and then greeted by Pepper, which that got me going.
Feels.
I was definitely surprised to see Gwyneth Paltrow in so much of this movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was just like her cameo in the beginning, and it's like, okay, well, she's done her part.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that later.
We will.
Boy, will we.
And then when Rocket comes up to Nebula and they sit down and they hold hands. Oh, there I go.
Honestly, I didn't expect that. And when he did it, I was like, oh, well, that's sweet.
They're the only family
that makes
they've
sense
got.
because I know we discussed this in our Infinity War episode, but Rocket didn't know how many of the Guardians were, snapped away.
Yep.
Until they showed up. So that was his sinking realization that,
she's the only one.
I'm alone here, and it's just Nebula.
Fuck. Okay.
That just reminded me of what Rocket says in the room, and he's just like, we failed.
A lot of that.
There's a lot of that going around.
From a Build-A-Bear.
Oh, dude, that was good.
I swear to God, I thought you were a Build-A-Bear for the first until you started talking.
Maybe I am.
Dude, and Tony's attitude in that scene was gut-wrenching.
It was. And I'll be honest, on the first viewing, it struck me wrong. Or not, it didn't strike me wrong, but it struck me the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely.
Same.
But I think it's supposed to. Because he's completely out of it. He's like, he's at the lowest point of his life, both physically and mentally and emotionally. Like, he's lashing out.
He's like, no, Cap, I don't have any coordinates.
Yeah. Oh God.
Because Cap's trying to do his job. Like,
Right.
But that line that he says where he's like, you said we'd lose together, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird that he was critical that Cap wasn't in space with him.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it seemed to me like just the ramblings of, like you said, he was at his physical and mental, the lowest point he's ever been at, and he is Tony Stark, and he does have something of an ego.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was his way of kind of pushing out against everyone, like, well, it's not all just my fault.
I don't think necessarily that it was that Cap wasn't in space with them, or it's that the Avengers were not still together from having had the chance to sign the Accords and stay together that way, and that they would have all been together when, Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian arrive on Earth. And then they can all take the fight to Thanos on Titan, and all of them. But he doesn't realize they all just would have lost there. So,
no, I get that. I just initial viewing was just like, why does he think that Cap should have been on Titan with him? That doesn't make any
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when we get the actual intro, like that was like all cold open.
The title card. Yeah.
It was like cold open 1 and cold open 1A.
Yeah.
Before the title card, which I thought was kind of weird.
Area 51A.
And was a little jarring for me. That there was like a cold open, and I thought like the movie was like starting, and they weren't going to do a title card, and then they did a title card, and I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. But that whole beginning, and like we had talked about before we recorded, that like first hour is a lot of like confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And the editing, they go hard to black like 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, and that's a hard thing to do early.
Agreed. It's weird to look at it, but Infinity War and this really are like a 5.5 hour.
Oh yeah. They should absolutely be viewed together. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. For a standalone film, yeah, it's a little jarring the first time, but with repeat viewings, it's gotten more easy to digest.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the tension that you don't know what's happening.
Fair.
I think that also has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching it for the very first time, you're going, okay, well, what's going to happen? Oh, we're like slowing all of this down, but wait, we're speeding up.
Right.
Because all of a sudden they're in space and they're retconning the planet for Thanos, and then, oh, there he is.
And we don't make a big deal about people going into space for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
That was
great. They like ask, which I think was them at least acknowledging the fact that it's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Who here's never been in space?
But it's weird that they all just go into space. And they're like good. They're just good.
With Cap, it didn't really feel out of character because I feel like he's up for anything like that. But other people are just like, yeah, all right, well, here we go.
Real quick, can I just say how pumped I was before we got to the title card when Cap just says, "All right, let's go get this son of a bitch." I don't know. I just like that was such a great line to go right into the title card.
Every time Cap cursed, people are like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. So it was slightly out of character because he cursed throughout the movie.
Yeah,
a little bit.
3 times,
which was just I took it more like he's at the end of his rope.
Absolutely, I agree.
Where he's just like, I'm done with the goody two shoes bullshit. Like
language.
I'm gonna say shit. I'm gonna say ass. I'm gonna say son of a bitch. I'm gonna say he's just cursing the entire fucking movie.
That's a theme.
He went from PG to PG-13.
Yes,
real quick.
That's a theme throughout the entire film. Is all of these characters at the end of their ropes. Yeah. All at their the most vulnerable, their lowest parts.
Because this is as low as you can get. They lost.
Absolutely. They lost hard.
They lost and half the universe died.
Yeah.
Because they failed.
Credit where credit is due for Jordan. But as soon as Cap looks at that compass on the ship, I was like, well, Jordan was right.
Because my theory was that he was going to go back in time and stay with Peggy and like live his life.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
And I was like, I don't know if they're going to do that. But as soon as they're on the spaceship and Cap flips open the compass and looks at it, and there was like a musical cue.
It was from the first Avenger.
I was like, son of a bitch, man. Jordan nailed that. Yeah. Fuck.
Oh, shit.
So it was just a matter of how they got there, but I knew it was happening.
I didn't realize that was even going to be a thing until, like, the end. Because I didn't expect anything.
Especially the second time around. Like, knowing, like, the first time around, once he starts looking at it, and then he looks at it again, and then he mentions when he's in the survivors group.
Yeah.
And he mentions her again. I was like, oh, they're definitely going to do it.
And then he sees her.
Yeah, and then they do it, and then the second viewing is a lot of like noticing all of those things leading up to it and going just like he nailed it. Jordan absolutely nailed it.
So I only have like a few issues with this movie, but that's actually one of them. Is I felt they went to that. I think they went to it twice, and it just was too many times for me. Was him looking at the compass or like acknowledging the compass with Peggy's picture, and it's like at this point, if you haven't seen the movies where he already had I guess it was the movie. It was First Avenger. If you haven't seen that, I don't know what you're doing here. Like seeing this movie, I felt that was unnecessary. It just felt a little bit of batting over the head.
It was a way for them to tease the end without telling you it's going to happen.
Right, but then they also had the scene when they go spoilers. They go back in time when Tony and he are at Camp Lehigh in the 70s, and he sees her there. That would have been just enough. I mean,
I don't think it would have been enough. I think it was.
You don't think her being on the other side of the glass and him looking longingly at her for a good it was a minute. I felt that was enough.
It was at first it was just like a reminder of like what he's doing or like what he misses, and reminding himself that everybody else misses somebody as much as that. And then the second time he looks at it, it's another just getting him to that point. And then once the capability is there for him to stay there, he makes the decision. And at the end of the movie, Bucky knows what he's going to do.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Bucky knew.
I didn't think it was too much. I think it was just enough to reinforce that. Because, I mean, like, Peggy has pretty much been his through line in all of these movies.
Right.
Yeah.
When he goes back to visit her in Winter Soldier, like, she's the focal point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the vision he has that Wanda gave him in Age of Ultron was, again, mostly about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it's not out of character for him to, like, look at something with her photo in it and, like, remind himself, again, I don't think this is what I'm doing this for.
I'm not saying it's out of character. I'm just saying it just was, for me, it just was a little too much. But it didn't detract from anything. It's just one of the issues that I had,
Thor goes for the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just lops
his head
it
right off.
And then,
and
what did
again,
you do? I went for the head.
In most of the showings I was at, people were like, yes! Like,
there was an audible gasp in the theater.
Yeah.
When I saw it.
When I, first viewing, I was like, well, what the fuck? And then I just sat there and I was like, okay, so no, we're definitely doing the time travel quantum realm thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that had been a prevailing theory, and then the set photos of them in New York in 2012 when they go back in time, I was like, okay, so that's definitely how they're going to do this.
Well, they even
go back in time.
They even say it during the post-credits in Ant-Man and the Wasp, that when he's about to go into the quantum realm, Janet Van Dyne says, "Don't get caught in a
time vortex."
Time vortex."
Yep.
So it's kind of like laying the seeds all the way back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, initially I was just like, well, there goes all of my theories out the window. Like, they just killed Thanos. Like, is he actually going to be the main villain of the movie, or like I didn't know what to expect at that point.
That was the great thing for me about having ignored everything I could about this movie after Infinity War. I suspected from Ant-Man and Wasp that the quantum realm was going to be something going forward. I didn't know necessarily whether it would be an Endgame or not, but I thought it could be. But I had, once they chopped off Thanos' head, I was like, okay, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. Let's see what happens. And then we get 5 years later.
And
I did not expect
another hard cut to black.
I did not expect a time jump.
Yeah, and then a words on screen to let you know that 5 years had passed.
But it's 5, and then it hangs on it for
so you think
few
it might
seconds.
Might be days or months.
And then as soon as it
like
said years,
weeks,
everyone in the theater was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah,
Again.
That was in the Saturday night viewing. That was the crowd's realization that shit just got real.
Yeah.
You heard like the
yeah.
For a second, at first, I thought it was going to go 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And then I was going to be like, okay, go on. But then it popped up later, and I was just like, wow.
And then after that, where do we cut to? What's the first scene after that? Is it with?
Well, it shows New York. It shows Manhattan.
You see the Statue of Liberty with like 1 million boats around it.
Yeah.
And like City Field.
Completely empty.
In City Field because he's in Queens.
Yep.
I thought it was very interesting because we got one of the directors
One of the
in there talking.
And also the creator of Thanos was in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Jim Starlin.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that, or not notice, but realize like Steve took on the role that Sam had in Winter Soldier? I thought that was really cool.
But one of my issues is there's the 5-year time jump.
Okay.
And yet when Peter Parker comes back, he's just in high school again, but like all of his friends also are in high school.
So that's not true.
What do you mean?
All of his friends are not in high school. Ned was in high school, which means Ned got snapped away too.
That's when they see each other at the end. They're both
when Peter walks in, you can see him. He's 1 million miles away. He's not recognizing anyone, and then he sees only Ned, and Ned sees him, and they reconnect. That to me, that means Ned also got snapped, and they're basically the only two people they know now in their grade, because everyone else would have graduated.
Yeah, but I guess it's just because of the information that I know from Homecoming and from Far From Home. You're still seeing like Flash. You're still seeing MJ.
Oh, really? Well, then maybe they all got snapped away too. But
I just feel like that's like such a stupid workaround.
So when they did the 5 years later, and they show you those sweeping panoramic shots of New York City, and then when you see Ant-Man later on walking down it seems as though life has kind of been at a standstill.
Yeah.
So it's weird to me to think that high school would have gone on.
That's also fair.
Like that was the confusion that I had, was like, so when Peter walks into school and all those kids follow behind him, to me it felt more like this is the first time everyone's back at school. Also
possible, yes.
I don't necessarily think that they would have not been to school for 5 years.
Yeah.
But they in the support group, the one of the directors who's playing that character is like, we talked about how we missed the Mets. Like there's no sports.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, everything is... It's basically like those 2 weeks after 9/11 where nothing happened.
Yeah. Except for years.
But just for 5 years.
Because 150 million people in the country, at least. And that's something that should be stressed, is that while Widow at the beginning of the movie said, he did what he set out to do, he erased 50%, a lot more people died than 50% because of plane crashes, helicopter crashes,
right.
Boat crashes, like, nuclear plants going off, just all sorts of shit would have happened. It was an apocalyptic event. So probably 2/3 of the population of Earth was gone, really.
That's something I hadn't even considered.
That's very true. Yeah.
So my assumption on Peter going back to school is that this is the first time school's been in session.
Okay. Yeah. That's entirely possible.
That was my thought process on it.
And so that's where where not having seen the Far From Home trailers, I didn't even realize that all those characters were in it, other than MJ. Because
I'm not even necessarily including that in my thought process,
right.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, that's what bothered me the most. And then also when good Nebula kills evil Nebula.
Well, when future Nebula kills past Nebula?
Yes. And it's like, is she going to disappear? No. Nothing happens? Okay.
No, so
they
that's...
already... Okay. Sorry.
Different timelines.
Professor Hulk explains how the time travel in this works.
Right.
What you do, where you go, does not affect the alternate timeline, because that timeline ceases to be because your new future is here.
Right. You can take things from the past and not have it affect your future. So technically, by taking her life, she was already in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Basically, they're not existing on one solid timeline that they keep jumping in and out of. It's just it always creates a multiple universes.
Yeah, which I thought was really a really cool look at, and putting the whole time travel thing on its head, because as they stated in the film with listing all those movies, that's how all those movies looked at time. Like, you can't go into the past and screw with the future. Like, don't do that.
Right.
Oh, when he's talking to Rhodey.
Because as Hulk explains it, if you go into the past, that past is now your future.
Yeah. And then, of course...
And that present is now your past.
And then, of course, they broke that rule at the end of the movie, but we'll get to that.
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I think they kind of did, but we'll get there.
I don't think that they did.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But we cut to Black Widow at that point, who's kind of running the Avengers now.
Apparently, there are no hairdressers in 5 years into the future.
The snap took all the good ones.
What was on her head?
Took all the good ones.
Same. That's what happened to Hawkeye.
With it was technically a mohawk, a fade.
Nice,
I don't know.
Somehow
nice
he made it work. Somehow she definitely didn't.
Well, my thought on that was because her hair was blonde at the end of Infinity War, so she just let it grow out.
Yeah,
and she just hasn't cut it or done anything with it.
Yeah,
it's just she let herself go.
Yeah, she just didn't care. And this is one of my major issues with the film, is that we got Scott Lang returning from the quantum realm because of a rat.
No. Well, yeah, I guess it's technically a rat. But I think they were trying to make the point of, thank the mouse for all of this.
Jesus Christ.
No. Anyway, I really hope that's not.
Eat a dick, Mickey.
But yeah, like, so I get that Strange had seen into the 14,605 possibilities, but in my estimation, it's more along the lines of what Tony said later on, that it was 1 billion to 1 odds that rat reactivated the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they could have done that any number of ways, by like Ken Jeong's security guy maybe accidentally activating it by going like, "Ooh, what's in this van?" He's I don't know. They could have done any number of ways that would have been more believable than just a rat happenstance activating the quantum tunnel.
That kind of felt like Scott Lang's luck to me, though.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, it was just kind of because he's had a wild fucking ride through this whole movie too, and he's kind of the catalyst to get everything going. And I am so glad they really pushed him to the forefront.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't
great.
I'm also really glad that they didn't give Ken Jeong like a speaking role.
Yeah, I was just kind of like a little like, hey, is that Ken Jeong? Neat. Anyway.
Then Rob, don't watch Community, please. Because he's
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Ken Jeong.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a problem with Ken Jeong. I have a problem with Ken Jeong in this film.
Oh, fair enough.
If he were to speak,
okay,
he's
because it's like okay.
No, I think
Cameo City.
The Russo brothers included a lot of the Community cast in the different MCU films, but I think they realized like this is not a place to showcase Ken Jeong's talents.
Yeah, no, exactly, because it would have been if him and Paul Rudd even had like a slight repartee, I would have been like, oh fuck me, let's go, let's get to the fucking point of this film,
because it just would have been
3 hours and 2 minutes. We don't need all of it. Let's.
But after that, we just continue with Ant-Man for a little while, right? When he's walking through,
he goes through the streets of San Francisco.
Amanda was kind of upset that kid didn't answer him, and I was like, imagine how much of an asshole he seems like.
Yeah.
Walking around with a fucking wagon, and he's like, "Hey kid, what happened here?" And this kid's like,
that kid's,
"Fuck you, buddy."
That kid grew up in a post-snap world, so he's seen some shit. Like,
right? No, exactly. So like, for him to like, everybody knows what happened. So for one fucking guy to be walking down the street, like, what happened?
Literally,
here, kid?
Other than the Big Bang, literally the biggest thing to happen in all of the universe's history. Like, it affected every single thing in the universe other than the Big Bang.
And then this one schmuck in San Francisco asks the kid on a bicycle what happened. Yeah. Like, that kid's not going to answer you fucking weirdo.
Sorry, kid, I've been microscopic for a while. It's a long story.
I would have.
Like, was he going to?
I would have been actually all right with him just calling him dick and then riding off like that. Like,
right.
But I get the silence.
You, man.
So then he frantically searches for his daughter's name.
Oh, that was
not
rough.
realizing that he's been gone 4 or 5 years and sees his own name.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice? I didn't think till afterward any like Easter eggs, any names on there. I didn't think to look.
I didn't pick up on anything.
I didn't see any.
I didn't see. I mean, I looked. I didn't see any. No.
But it's super exciting to see Cassie survive.
Yeah.
Oh, that part. That was another just gut punch.
He was like, "You're so big."
Yeah.
For a second, I thot it was going to be Judy Greer as his ex-wife as Cassie's mom, and I thought it was a little odd that we didn't get any mention of her or her cop husband, since they were so prominent in Ant-Man in both Ant-Man movies.
It almost makes me wonder if there were scenes that were cut.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think they were the only people that didn't get a cameo.
Didn't they originally say that the original cut of this was like 4 hours long?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I don't know.
So we might be getting a Lord of the Rings-esque extended director's edition. That would be awesome.
I'm fairly positive that, like, once they had everything shot and they threw everything on their timeline, it was 4 hours.
Wow.
And they had to, and they were thinking of intermission,
right?
Or cut it down.
Fuck it, let's go 4 hours.
Yeah.
I dehydrated myself.
So they cut it down to 3 hours, which I don't know how you take an hour out of a final thought and go, all right, this is good.
Yeah. I hope we get that
and
entire
still have
hour.
it make sense.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that's a lot of content.
So I would imagine that every character gets a long time.
Yeah.
In that, and then they cut it down to like the stuff that just makes sense.
Yeah. But then again, there's another scene that I started crying when he and Cassie reunite. I was just like, he missed out again. He missed out on more years of her life. He was basically in prison for another 5 years.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good. Yeah. So I guess we get Hulk first.
Yes.
Yeah, we get Hulk first because they go to Tony's house 5 years into the future. He has a daughter named Morgan with Pepper Potts. Yep. It's a really cute scene. Their interaction is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Robert Downey Jr. can act opposite a fucking mop and make it look awesome.
I would pay to see that.
And the girl was fantastic. I'm not saying that she was bad. She was really good.
Yeah,
right.
She was adorable.
They pitched to him the idea of doing a time heist.
The time heist.
And he shits all over it because he's not interested. He's got his second chance with his family. He's good. He doesn't need anything else.
And we get one of
kind of Tony Stark selfishness, but coupled with like, fuck that, I'm not even going to try.
Right.
We tried. It's over. take the L on the chin, everybody move the fuck on. I think that's where Tony was.
And we get one of the first of two dumpings on Back to the Future, which I thought were hilarious. But even though I love Back to the Future, but yeah.
He's like, "Are you basing your entire theory on Back to the Future?" And Scott Lang's like, "No."
Good, because that's horse shit. Yeah.
So they pitch him the idea. He shoots them down. They go find the other biggest brain that they know.
Literally.
Of in the universe that survived, and that is
Professor Hulk.
Bruce Banhulk.
Yep.
Professor Hulk.
Green Banner.
I was reading a couple comments that were just like, "Oh, I thought it was stupid. We didn't even get the Hulk." It's like, it's Professor Hulk. It's in the comic, you fucking casual. Jesus.
Rob and Andrew, please have a discussion.
I hated it.
I'm going to sit back and listen.
I hated it.
Why,
I absolutely
dude?
fucking hated it.
Why?
Let me get my popcorn.
Why? Because his powers have changed every film, and he's never been consistently one thing or another.
That sounds like the Hulk to me. His powers have been fluctuating since the 60s.
No, but it's never the same thing. In Incredible Hulk, it's his blood pressure. In Avengers, he miraculously is able to control it with just being angry all the time. In Age of Ultron, he can switch one way but not the other, and they have to have a lullaby to talk him down. And then Ragnarok, it's the other way around. Hulk won't let go, and Banner's trapped inside him. And then in Infinity War, it's the opposite. And now he explains away over brunch wearing a cardigan that... Oh, yeah, I just 18 months in a lab and I fucking figured it out. Boop. Anyway, pass the eggs.
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like two sides of his brain have been competing with each other for so long to find dominance over the other that they both sat down and they came to an agreement.
Yeah, but how did he sit down with his own brain?
He just talked to himself in his head.
Meditation?
I don't know. Yeah.
He hasn't meditated since the first film.
I don't know that. Every time he's not on screen, he could be meditating.
I take nothing for canon that is not on screen, because canon is what is on screen, or what is spoken about on screen
with a K and like 7 N's.
I did not, and fucking Uncanny Valley watching Mark Ruffalo's giant green fucking face for 3 hours. I hated it, and I hated it more. I hated Hulk more the second time around than the first time around. The first time around, I was focused on something else that we're very close to getting to. But the second time around, I was just like, I can't stand. And he's just mopey, fucking naughty. Like it's Beta Hulk.
So,
Jesus Christ,
so
Rob.
I didn't have a problem with Professor Hulk. I don't know. It just didn't strike me the wrong way. I did have an issue with how long that scene went in the diner. I felt that was a little. I felt that dragged.
Yeah, that dragged a little bit.
And I do believe that those are all the Russo's kids. So it's like, all right, you didn't have to put your kids in the movie, you know.
They got so much FaceTime.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure at least one of those kids I remember from Winter Soldier being the kid who notices Cap in the Smithsonian. And I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure remember reading that is one of the Russo's kids. So I'm pretty sure all three of them, because they looked very familially related.
That makes sense.
And then it's aggravating because he's like, it's not my area of expertise. Cut to, he figured it out.
Kind of.
I mean, in all fairness, he's one of the smartest men on the planet because Reed Richards isn't in this universe. Right. So he's number
I get that he's one of the smartest people on the planet, and now that number is considerably lower, so definitely shoots him to the top if he wasn't. But just like the idea that he just like,
it was.
Oh yeah, I figured out time travel because I thought about it for 10 minutes.
So I interpreted that as that was a collaborative effort between both Scott and Bruce. I mean, I'm sure Bruce did a lot of that, but Scott would absolutely have had input. It being the quantum tunnel in his van, you know, that he helped.
Well, I think he more just was like, so this is what I'm pretty sure they did,
right?
And here's all the stuff. Now go.
Right.
And Banner's giant fingers didn't destroy any of the stuff because he's not angry anymore. He's just a scientist that wears cardigans. and reading glasses that fit his fucking head.
But no shoes.
Jordan, what?
But no shoes.
Jordan, what?
But no shoes.
What shoes are going to fit him?
They're not. But how did he get a cardigan?
There are Hulk-sized torsos out there. Like, I don't know if you know that they make 4XL things, and that might fit.
A 4XL wouldn't fit his dick.
Well, to be fair, when they did eventually jump back to 2012 and we saw the Hulk,
the real Hulk,
he was much larger than
way
Professor
bigger.
Hulk or whatever.
Yeah, so he found a middle ground.
So I didn't care for Professor Hulk, but it annoyed me way more the first time. The second time, I was just kind of like, all right, whatever.
It became grating to me the second time.
The thing that I didn't like, he was pretty much missing for that entire final battle. We didn't see him.
That's true.
At all.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't like to smash things anymore, Jordan.
That could have also been something that got cut, because he absolutely is there.
Yeah.
You know, Giant Man
drops him into the
Rocket,
battle.
War Machine, and him are there. Now his arm's still fucked up, but I would have had to think he would have smashed some shit. But there was, and we'll get to.
But like begrudgingly.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. By that point, he would have had survived that attack, and I think he probably would have been a little bit angry. But we'll get to that battle. But there was so much going on in that battle. I didn't miss it. So
they definitely did not give him FaceTime in that battle, other than to drop him into it.
Speaking of someone they didn't give FaceTime to, that I was assuming was going to be a major player, Denai Guerrera, her character. Okoye.
Okoye, yeah.
I was kind of like,
they put her on the poster.
Yeah, like I didn't. It wasn't until the end of the movie I was like, wait a minute, where has she been this whole time?
Earlier in the 5 years after, she's one of the people that reports to Black Widow on what's going on.
Right. Yeah, and I assumed like she's in Wakanda,
and then later on she's in Wakanda, and she comes through the portal.
We'll get to that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
And then she has FaceTime in that other moment in the battle as well.
Yeah.
I have to think that's
she kills Corvus Glaive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to think that that's part of the 4 hours. That there's some scenes dealing with Wakanda post snap as well, because obviously having spent 2 films there already, that they wouldn't have just ignored that until the end of the movie. So I have to think that she either stepped in as queen or regent or something. I don't know, but yeah, no, she was on the poster and we got her very little.
Yeah, so they go to Thor's house or whatever and knock on the door, and he doesn't answer, so they just go in. And we get Depression Belly Thor.
You look like melted ice cream.
Depression Belly Thor, everyone.
Oh, don't forget Korg playing Fortnite.
Fucking Fortnite.
Yeah, but
Woo!
they had
Remember the rock guy with the funny voice? Shit.
They had Fortnite in there because Thanos was a character in Fortnite for a little while. During Infinity War.
No, and they have all sorts of weapons and shit now, apparently, that's being tied into it because of the movie.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So
fucking Fortnite.
So
joke.
this is another thing that I didn't really have a big problem with. I bought into it. That again, like all of them, they're all broken, but evidently Thor more so, because he is a god and he still couldn't get the job done.
Well, he blames himself because he didn't go for the head.
Yeah, and then killed him afterwards in a fit of anger, and that helped nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think they needed to go as far as giving him a huge gut. I think they could have had him just be hairy and grungy and just mopey, and had that been delivered fine. But it didn't ruin it for me, him having the gut.
It ruined the character for me.
Dude, for me they've made Thor a joke, because anytime in the Saturday viewing, anytime he just comes on screen after this moment, the entire crowd laughed at him. Even in the final battle where he has both Stormbreaker and the hammer,
I love that scene.
and he gets all his beard gets all twisted up for battle and shit, and he's got his armor on, he starts flanking Thanos, and the entire crowd laughed at him because they saw how wide he was.
I and like I said to you last night, that I people are stupid. I don't know. People are dumb.
But see, that's the thing. That is the intended reaction for that character now. They want you to laugh at him because he's fucking jokey joke man the entire movie.
I don't know necessarily that they were going for that. I know they were going for that in that scene in the cabin and then in the time travel stuff when he's, still grungy, but once shit got real, before at the last battle, I don't think they wanted people to laugh at him. But I understand what you're saying, that they laid that groundwork.
Yeah, and then in the planning phase of what they were going to do to go back in time, they take 5 minutes for him to shit all over Dark World.
Yeah.
And then they move on.
Well, my
she put her hand in the thing and then it went inside her, LOL. And then they did the thing that Marvel has a habit of doing, is where there's something that's able to be criticized, they make an in-universe joke to it so that you can no longer criticize it because they've acknowledged that it's a joke, where Tony calls him fucking Lebowski. Now you're not allowed to talk about it because they made an in-reference. They called him Lebowski.
Oh.
That was the joke.
I don't know. I didn't.
So it's like, oh, well, then there's no more criticism necessary. They did it.
I didn't really pick up on, you don't criticize anymore. I thought it was just kind of like a nod. I didn't really get, you can't criticize it now because we criticized it first.
For me, it felt very similar to in Deadpool 2, where they made 3 references to the writing being shit.
I never saw Deadpool 2.
You're not missing anything.
No, that sucks, really.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah.
I just feel like Thor as a character should be a badass. He is a god. He is the fucking god of thunder.
I agree, and I didn't really care for Ragnarok because they made him jokey jokester, but they found the formula.
This is no different than that. They tripled down on that.
This is how they've made it work for him in the movies, and that's what's profitable.
See, my issue is they didn't start him off as like a funny, haha, stupid character. They spent 2 films setting him up as a serious, as a serious character, and then therefore in Ragnarok they made him dumb. They don't even make him funny. He's not sarcastic. He's stupid.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I don't understand things.
If you watch the first Thor film, he's acting like he's from another planet. He's like, oh, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's good. I'll have another. He's acting like, a god. Whereas now he's just stupid because he doesn't understand how certain things work.
Yeah. And
then in this movie, they just turned him up to 11. They made it worse. They doubled down on it. And that's my biggest problem with Thor. And it got worse in the second viewing for me with him.
I agree. I wanted him to be more... I didn't want him to be pushed that far into comic relief territory, but there were moments, especially at the end, when he's staring down Thanos and his eyes start glowing and he kind of raises both of his hands and there's lightning. It's like, okay, we still have that Thor in there. And I hope that because I assume he's going to be one of the Guardians of the Galaxy now, that they kind of make him a badass again like he was in Infinity War.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you could hang your hat on that.
Yeah,
because the scene at the end with the Guardians was all jokes. And I get it because the Guardians are funny.
Yeah.
But if this was Thor from Thor 1 or Thor 2 in with the Guardians, I would thoroughly enjoy the fact that he is straight manning all of their jokes.
Yeah.
But now he's got to get his comedy shit in.
It's just him and Chris Pratt going joke for joke.
Tete-a-tete, just back and forth. Fucking tennis with jokes back and forth. And it's going to be massively entertaining. But 3 years ago or 4 years ago, in our first run of these, when we got the first Ragnarok trailer and we broke it down on our podcast, I could not have been more wrong when I said that the Guardians of the Galaxy is the best thing that happened to Thor. I take it all back. They've pushed him too far into, oh, he's funny now territory that they've completely fucked him up for me.
there were a ton of Easter eggs in that movie.
Whether it was just repeated lines, or just stuff that was hidden, was like there was a lot.
I said this to Rob last night, but I thought it was great that they finally incorporated the actor they had for Jarvis was actually the actor who played Jarvis in Agent Carter.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, really.
I thought he looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out where I had seen his face before.
Right.
What were some other Easter eggs that we picked up on?
The biggest one was the song that plays at the end. It's been a long time. That's the same song that is playing in Cap's apartment during Winter Soldier, when Fury is there waiting for him before he gets shot. And that's playing at the end of the movie. Another big Easter egg was actually in the credits. In the end credits, the song that played at the end of the film was a kind of jazzy version of "Make Way for Tomorrow Today," which was I think Alan Menken written song that was in Iron Man 2 during the Stark Expo.
Huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The tune was familiar. I just didn't know what it was. Another one is at the funeral when Happy asks Morgan what she wants, and she said cheeseburgers. Because that is the first thing Tony Stark asked for in Iron Man 1 after escaping the cave.
God, I'm going to get you all the cheeseburgers you want.
And it took a minute for it to hit me the first time, but also in the funeral, as you get towards the back of towards the cabin, there's kind of a teenage looking guy, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I had to look it up afterwards, and it's the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Yeah,
So cool.
We had no idea who that was, and had to look it up at one point. So we're like trying to figure. It's like, oh, is he part of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is he fucking Tony's cousin?
Illegitimate child? What is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
When Steve is getting ready to take the stones back to where they grabbed them from.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Don't do anything stupid until I get back.
Yep.
And Bucky was like, how could I? You're taking all the stupid with you.
Directly from
that was a throwback to Captain America First Avenger.
Yep.
It's a repeated line, but the roles are reversed.
Oh, did you guys notice towards the end, Rocket was in his original Guardians costume?
Yeah.
Like the blue and red.
Yeah.
That was a neat little.
I thought that was really
a cool little nod.
Oh yeah, and he had like the scarf thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. I like that part.
That was cool to see that.
Yeah, and when they're back in time and you see Hank Pym in his lab, the original Ant-Man helmet.
Fucking helmet.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so cool.
That was cool.
That really was.
Yeah. And they always knock it out of the park with de-aging of Michael Douglas.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It wasn't just Michael Douglas, because they de-aged, I think, John Slattery as well.
Yeah.
He's not a young guy anymore.
Yeah, so specifically that 70s scene, after they botch the retrieval of the Tesseract in 2012.
They got hit in the head by a Hulk.
Yeah. After they botch that and they go back to the 70s where they can both get the Tesseract and Pym particles at the same time, which was a stroke of genius on the two of them.
Yeah.
We get a really beautiful couple minutes with just Tony and his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so nice.
Yeah.
And it was cool seeing Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man as kind of like fumbling over his words and not the cool, charismatic character that we've known for 10 years. How he's kind of like, well, I'm Howard Potts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
It's the only person in the universe that he would be nervous around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it totally fits now that we saw in Civil War how, at least in his memory, that their last time together was, how it went,
Yeah.
that he wishes he had said that he loved him and so forth, that, and then, oh God, I'm going to start crying.
He finally got to.
And then he got to hug him and say thank you.
For everything he did for the country.
Right.
Yeah. He had his beat. You beat, Nick?
That was so great.
I loved it.
Because his beard, you don't think about it, but his beard totally would not fit in 1970.
Yeah.
No.
And then we got Stan Lee's last cameo.
Yeah. That was rough.
Yeah.
Make love, not war, man. and drives by.
That was great.
Yeah. Fuck.
His bumper sticker that said "Nuff said."
Yeah.
That's a Stan Lee-ism.
Yep.
Excelsior, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
a lot of great
the,
little Easter eggs.
The callbacks and the stuff. I really love that 70s scene because I definitely didn't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they played it perfectly. We got to see, for better or worse, this is Cap and Tony's last ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got to show you how to do a side quest in a film. Take note, Star Wars. Anyway.
Oh, it hurts.
It hurts because it's true. Anyway.
And it hurts because it did happen. Yes.
Yeah. So a couple of... I wrote down a bunch of... I just wrote down a bunch of interactions that I liked between characters that we may or may not get again or never got before. The very first one I wrote down was Ancient One and Hulk.
Yeah.
That was great.
Totally
so
unexpected for me.
Yeah. Same. When we see orange shit coming off the top of what is it, 177 Bleecker?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. Bleecker Street.
When we see like the mystic stuff coming over at the Chitauri, I'm like, wait a minute, he's not there. Like,
right?
Who are they going to show? Is it going to be Wong? And then it was like, it's the fucking Ancient One. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yep.
And
I love that.
Huh?
When she gets when Banner's like, no, I didn't ask. I'm kind of just gonna take it. She hits him with the fucking
astral,
the soul push.
Yeah.
That she hits Strange with in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we
awesome.
We get like the Hulk coming up to this frail looking, and then just pop. Nope, takes out the Hulk with a single hit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they fucking argue for what seems like 10 minutes about whether or not they should do this.
Yeah, and he can. And
I thought that
Strange
was a
is
really cool discussion.
Strange is the best of us.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong.
He's like, well, then why'd he give it away? And she was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
The entire mood changed in that moment when he says that.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
he had
okay,
to.
here.
Yeah.
And then again, Hulk has to explain time travel to somebody. We have enough for a round trip each and 2 test runs.
One test run.
One test run.
I love Paul Rudd so much.
Yeah, dude, he was honestly. I don't have a favorite person in this film because they all did a fucking phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's definitely up there in like, really did a fucking phenomenal job with just everything that he was given.
He stood out.
He's definitely stood out.
Well, he was the catalyst that saved the universe.
Pretty much, yeah. Absolutely.
If Ant-Man does not get a job with the Avengers after this,
don't call us, we'll call you.
We don't know if there's going to be Avengers after this.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So I had Ancient One and Hulk, Tony and Morgan we kind of talked about already, Thor and Frigga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
That was good. Second time around, way better for me.
Yeah, and she had more lines in this movie than she had in the first 2 Thor films.
Altogether, yeah.
Right.
And Renee Russo was so underused in those films. It was really nice to see her have a really big moment in this movie.
Absolutely.
When he's like, but today you're gonna, and she keeps like shushing him, like, then that's what's gonna happen.
And then she a little bit earlier than that, he tries to convince her that he's not from the future.
Yeah.
And she's like, boy, I was raised by witches. I see with more than my eyes.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm totally from the future.
And of course he's still worthy. And we get motherfucking Mjolnir back.
That was cool.
And then Cap, Thor, and Tony before the big battle. It was cool to see like the big 3 have like some glamour shot FaceTime.
Yeah.
The 3 of them in full armor and full uniform and shit like that, ready to go. Like I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really had a moment where they all stand next to each other like that in a while.
Yeah.
Since
might have been Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. It was Age of Ultron. Put in an elevator. The elevator goes up. Is the elevator worthy?
Well, there are some big things that we have to talk about. So during the time heist, Clint and Natasha are the team that have to go to Vormir without knowing exactly what had to happen there.
Or what a Vormir was.
I knew exactly what was going to happen as soon as we saw them on Vormir.
Well, you're taking the words out of my mouth. Yeah, absolutely. As soon as we saw that they're going to Vormir, we knew what was going to happen. They did not. Yeah, that was rough. Also, just one of the best scenes in the film.
There was a bunch of swerves in that one fucking scene when War Machine and Nebula, when they were going to get the Power Stone. I definitely thought that Rhodey was going to die in that scene, because I was like, oh, they're going to pit Nebula and Rhodey against fucking Thanos and his entire army right here. Was I the only one that felt like that for a second?
I did not, but that would have been very interesting.
It was when Nebula drops the fact that Quill isn't the only one looking for the Power Stone at that time, that shit was firmly going sideways in their time heist.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, that was the first moment within that set of sequences where they go back in time that you're like, oh, this is going to be fucked.
Yeah.
Because he's like, wait, what?
Oh, but we do get... I love how many times you get to see things from like a different angle from the original movies or some kind of behind the scenes, and it's Peter Quill like singing Come and Get Your Love, and he's dancing along, and then it cuts to their point of view and it's just him like, come and get your love.
With his horrible singing voice.
Yeah. Like, just like that car singing that you do.
Yeah.
That nobody else knows about, like that.
And they're like, so he's an idiot.
Yeah. He's an idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
And then War Machine just pops him on the back of the head.
Him.
But back to Vormir, because we get our first massive death of the film, and what seems to be a permadeath, after saying "Let me go," which at that point I started bawling.
Yeah. She had nothing.
Oh God.
Yeah, she had really suffered for those 5 years specifically, trying to hold the pieces together.
Yeah.
And I think that going into that, obviously Clint wants to die because he doesn't have his family, but Widow's gift to him and the world was like, if there's even a chance that they can come back because of this, you deserve to have them.
Yeah.
Right. He's not thinking of what he could possibly get back.
Right.
He's just thinking of what he's lost.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's thinking of what could be.
Yeah.
And how she doesn't necessarily need to figure into that because she's done everything she can.
So the second two showings out of the three, it didn't hit me as much, but the first time I was just sobbing at that. I did not see losing Natasha as such a big thing going into it, but it hit me really hard.
Yeah.
There was definitely, it was so quiet. You could hear a couple people crying. You could hear a couple people kind of like, trying to compose themselves in that scene, and
mirroring really, as it was the Gamora's death in Infinity War, the same thing. It was the same kind of, maybe even just a little more, because she's been with it since Iron Man 2,
Yep.
Yeah, losing Natasha was really tough. I was crying. I didn't anticipate to cry, but the way that they built that moment up, having her and Clint fight, I thought that was really nice. And it was a nice callback to their relationship.
Oh, absolutely. And I honestly thought that it was going to be Clint. Because
so did I.
While I didn't think it was the right move story-wise, because I thought that, it would be great to have him with his family, I thought that what they were going to do is have him still just give in to the loss and go through with it. So I did not see that coming.
No, me either. Me either at all. And that's actually the next one that I had written down, so that's cool that we got that.
Yeah.
Another interaction that I thought was awesome was in New York in 2012. We got Cap versus Cap.
Cap fight. I can't believe we got a Cap fight.
And prior to Cap versus Cap, we got the huge callback to Winter Soldier in the elevator, which I
That
thought
was awesome.
So goddamn great.
And it was finally payoff and catharsis for that extremely controversial Captain America comic that came out recently, where it's revealed it's not even really Cap, and he's in a cosmic cube, and it's like an imposter, whatever. But it was because I was totally ready for another fight scene in the elevator.
That's what they were setting it up for. You thought that was going to happen again.
I love that
he knew the password.
Yeah, he just leans over. Hail Hydra. And the guy kind of looks at him like, really? We got fucking
what
Captain
the fuck? We got Cap?
I'm glad that Andrew mentioned it, because all at once I was like, it's cool that it's a payoff of Winter Soldier in that moment, but I also definitely took it as a nod to that Captain America comic book as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%, yeah.
It had to be, because people were pissed about that god-awful decision.
And then just that smirk as he leaves with the staff.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't even need to fight him. We got this. And then we got Cap fight.
But then he did have to fight himself.
I could do this all. I know.
I
know.
I fucking lost my shit. Just
delivered this so
day.
Well.
Yeah,
I know. I say it all the time.
It's double funny to me, because like, if faced with yourself, you'd probably hate that person.
Yeah,
of course.
I can do this
like,
all day.
So Cap's just super annoyed with his just inability to give up.
Yeah.
Dude, 2012 Cap was kicking current day Cap's ass too.
Speaking of ass,
that's America's ass.
That is America's ass.
That was so good, and they kicked the shit out of each other.
Although
I will say the CGI in this film is fantastic, top to bottom. But Chris Evans in a helmet face over Chris Evans without a helmet face, when he's choking him out, it looked not very good.
I didn't really
the
notice
movement of their bodies, and then you see the masked one's head behind him. It was very obviously superimposed. I mean, obviously we know that it's superimposed, but it was a low quality add-in on that.
And then Ant-Man giving 2012 Tony a heart attack.
Oh yeah, he's like, it's just a little. What does he call it? Like a heart arrhythmia or something like that?
Yeah, cardiac arrhythmia.
I
we
like
got
that.
to see the son of a bitch secretary.
Robert Redford.
Dude, fucking Robert Redford came back even.
And that's that is his last acting role ever. He's retired from acting.
Really?
Completely.
Wow.
So that was his. Yeah, in the biggest film of all time. That's his last role.
Did you
That's
guys?
Awesome.
I like when Ant-Man, he's going to like give him the heart attack. Did you? When he goes, "All right, I'm going inside you now." That's the way he says it.
Is that Axe body spray?
It's like, yeah, it was for emergency.
I kept an emergency can in the dresser.
Oh,
God damn it!
It's such a great fucking scene.
He's like standing back there, and he's like, "The window's closing. The window's closing."
Or when Thor hits him with like the defibrillator, he's like, "I don't know if this is gonna work." Yeah, well, he used Mjolnir as like a defibrillator. I was like, I didn't think that would work. All right,
dude. The idea that they all come back from the time heist and past Nebula is replaces future Nebula. And doesn't
Nebula.
talk. She just kind of follows everybody's lead.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause they're all talking about what happened. Clint reveals that Natasha died, and they all kind of go their separate ways into doing what they're doing. And she just kind of hangs out.
Yeah.
Which I just think is great that nobody even thinks, because she's weird. She's a weird fucking
She's always in the background.
Yeah, she's a weird alien robot person. So they're just like, oh yeah, she's strange.
Always sulky and, morose and not saying much.
Yeah.
So all she has to do is just hang back, and it all works.
Yep.
I thought that was great. And they're all doing what they're doing. And they're putting that gauntlet together for somebody to put their hand in. And Thor desperately wants it to be him so he could have some sort of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it definitely probably should have been. I feel like he probably could have mentioned to them that he had the light of a fucking star pass through him in the last film, and the radiation wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I guess they felt like because he wasn't in an emotional spot to do it.
Also, I think it still would have fucked him up, because it seems to fuck up everyone that uses it, and they needed him in the last battle.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think it was more about the emotional thing than anything is the reason why they wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah, fair.
I
was talking about.
It just seems weird to me that he helped create Stormbreaker by holding two rods and allowing the light of a fucking, what was it, a sun or a dying star?
Yeah, a dying star.
A dying star to pass through his body.
Yeah.
And he survived with really zero ramifications. And he wouldn't mention that, but maybe
died.
He's not thinking about it.
Well, I guess the same thing could be said for Captain Marvel. You know, she was literally infused with the power of one of the Infinity Stones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so she couldn't handle anything else.
I liked how they used her in the movie, that she was the secret weapon.
I
liked that she was not in it for most of the movie, that she just came through at the end because she's that powerful that if she was just there, it would have solved all the problems. I like that she was out helping everyone else in the universe. I think that was the best thing they could have done with her in the movie, was have her used that sparingly.
Yeah, I will agree that if she had more FaceTime, I don't know how into it I would have been.
Right.
So I'm glad that they gave her a reduced role.
But you could say the same thing about Scarlet Witch, that she was empowered with the power of the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
And so she, it's just, there are a lot of ins and outs of, ifs and buts and so forth with that. But I personally, I was cool with Hulk being the one to undo the snap with the snap.
It's mostly gamma radiation anyway. It's like I was made for this.
And they laid that groundwork. They laid that groundwork in Avengers by saying the Tesseract gave off gamma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So evidently they all do. I was okay with that. It didn't really matter it didn't. Of course, it mattered, but they couldn't celebrate that very long because as soon as Scott realizes, like, hey, there are birds, and I think it worked, and Laura is calling Clint on his phone.
When his phone rings,
it turns out that what was it, Sanctuary 2? That's
Yes.
Yeah. Sanctuary 2 has been brought through the quantum tunnel and just lays complete and utter waste to the new Avengers facility in upstate New York.
Yeah, and
that was fucking wild.
I like that we got kind of the nod to it was a very old Avengers comic, I want to say the 70s, where Hulk held up a mountain that was collapsing.
Yes.
There's that really famous panel
cover.
where it's a really famous panel where he's holding up the mountain, and I think that was kind of a nod to it when he's trying to hold up the whole compound to save Rhodey and Rocket.
He did something Hulkish.
Yeah, and Rhodey, he couldn't even hop into his War Machine armor at that point. Remember, it was like he had to crawl out and drag himself over to save.
On the one he was in because it was crushed. Yeah.
Canopy.
He's a canopy.
Yeah, and goes over to save Rocket.
Yeah.
I felt like they did a really good job throughout that entire third act, structuring it and pacing it out.
It was perfect.
Everyone got like a fair amount of screen time except for the Hulk.
Well, maybe they didn't give Hulk a lot of time because he just did the snap. So his screen time was that.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So while Rocket and War Machine and Hulk are under there, Ant-Man wakes up and is like, "Oh, I can help."
Yeah, I'm coming.
And Rob, I remember you had told me during it was some movie, and I think it was a Marvel movie, but like someone was about to do something, and you were the entire time like going, "Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it." So as Scott is diving down into the underground crater where they're starting to drown, I'm just going like, I'm just going, do it, become Giant Man, do it. And so then it goes, we see it goes from there to Clint picking up the gauntlet, the Iron Man gauntlet, and then running through the tunnels with the Outriders, the things from Infinity War. I don't know, but anyway, those things chasing him, and then we go to
and he's
Thanos.
Fucking him up too.
Yeah,
I loved the sound that Ant-Man made when he jumped into the water. When he was tiny and he was swimming through, and he jumps down and jumps into another body of water, you just hear bloop.
Oh. So like a raindrop.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's awesome.
I did not notice that. I'll have to watch
I definitely laughed really hard the first viewing for it.
I didn't notice that. That's great.
That fight with the three of them and Thanos was so fucking great,
dude. It was unbelievable,
and it led to what I think is now the most iconic, greatest moment in all of the MCU so far.
Mm-hmm.
As because Thanos beats the shit out of each and every one of them in turn, and he's beating Thor. Thor tries to get Stormbreaker to him. Thanos grabs Stormbreaker and starts taking the axe and pushing into him, much like mirroring, 2018 Thanos had done to him.
Yep.
And then you just see Mjolnir start to rise. And I got to be honest, I'm going to get choked up here because it was such an amazing moment.
Dude, I'm getting chills thinking about it right now.
In that Thursday night showing, I was on the edge of my seat as that happened. And you could hear other people go like, oh. And then you see that it gets thrown through the air, hits Thanos, and then comes back, and Cap is just fucking holding Mjolnir because he's fucking worthy.
Dude.
And the entire fucking theater, it was like I was at a sporting event. I put both my hands up in the air like a fucking field goal had been made. It was amazing.
No one in the theater could handle it.
My Thursday night theater broke out into a round of applause at that.
The two dudes back and to the left of me. The whole theater was quiet, and then you see it, and as soon as it goes back into his hand, one dude goes, "Let's go!" And then the entire fucking theater erupts.
And then Cap delivers such an amazing ass kicking.
And he wields lightning.
It didn't fucking hold, but it was so satisfying to see him just wipe the fucking floor with Thanos for like 30 seconds.
And he's using it to like bounce his shield into the back of his head and then fucking smashes him and calls down lightning with it.
He utilized that thing that they did in was that also Age of Ultron?
Yeah. When he throws the shield
where he holds the shield up and Thor fucking claps on
it.
Yes.
Oh, and we got from the first Avengers when Thor supercharges Tony.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was awesome.
So that, with Cap holding Mjolnir, that was my favorite moment in this movie.
I'm getting chills thinking about it right now, dude.
Hard to argue that. Yeah.
Cap being worthy. And then Thor just going, "I knew it!"
And that's, I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much, but I'm going to say that from Age of Ultron, from the party, I knew that. Yeah. That he moved it and then decided not to move it more because he knew it would break Thor's heart. But now it's like, nope, now I'm going to fucking do this because we have to.
You think like from way back in then he could have moved it?
Yeah. Oh, he did. Well,
I'm just saying like you think he could have picked it up at that point?
I think so. I think
That's interesting.
He went to grab it, moved it a little, knew that he could have picked it up entirely, and then just was like, nope, can't do it.
Oh, man. That's fascinating.
Because there was no Stormbreaker back then. That was all Thor had. So
here, you take the little one.
Let's trade.
Oh, man. So even though Cap, had Mjolnir, Thanos still got an upper hand. Evidently, that double sword that he has is either made of vibranium or adamantium or something, because it took out Cap's shield.
Yeah,
and then
it was nothing.
Yeah, like the first time when he brings it down and Cap has his shield up, and you see it go into the shield. Cap looks up and he has a moment of like, "Oh fuck.
Shit!" Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I didn't believe that the first time I saw it in the theater. I was like, "Wait, did he just hit it?" And then I saw that it had, broken off part of the shield. I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah,
and then
it gets silent.
And I'm getting chills again.
And then Sam came through on the comm.
Oh my god, it was so
you
great.
Because he's like, you hear Cap, and it's just kind of like, he's like, "What the fuck? Who is that? Sam?"
And then he's like, on your left. And at that point, I started to bawl.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Same here. There have been few. Oh god, I got trying to keep it together right now.
Yeah.
There have been few times in life that I've cried tears of joy. This was one of them.
So they had set all of that up to just way down. So the three of them had a hard time with just Thanos.
Yeah.
And then you remember how hard a time they had in New York when it was just Chitauri and those massive fucking
the
creature things.
Yeah, the Leviathans.
Yeah, and
then
there's just a million of them, and then you see the hard time that they had in Infinity War with all those devil dogs, and there's an insurmountable number of them, and then his Black Order's there,
tanks.
And you're just like, holy, those tank gorilla things.
Well, so there are outright Chitauri tanks, and then there are the giant Chitauri, whatever the fuck those things were. The Sakarans were there. Like, it was fucking crazy.
It was just an insurmountable, there's no way those odds work out.
Right.
There's no way they're going to be overrun and murdered, and that's it. And for a second, you're like, oh my God, is this for real? And Cap just fucking, like, tightens his chin strap and is like, all right.
Well, because I expected Thor to stand up and Iron Man to stand up, and the three of them to be like, all right, let's do it, I guess. And then just on your left, and you see the little...
And then you get that orange circle from Doctor Strange just opens up, and the first three through it, which I thought was so perfect.
It couldn't have been anybody else.
Yeah. It couldn't have been anybody else, because he evens the odds for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it's Shuri, Okoye, and fucking Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, again, the two dudes behind me to the left. You see it open, they walk out, and he just goes, Black Panther! And starts screaming it, and just starts, oh my God.
Someone behind me in the Thursday show went outright just, Wakanda forever!
Yeah. Oh, somebody yelled Wakanda. Yeah, somebody yelled Wakanda in the theater.
Last night, someone behind us was when they were going Ibambe, Ibambe. They were chanting along with that.
They were doing the call and
that's
response.
Fucking cool.
Yeah, everyone was super into that. And I'm not gonna lie, I've gone on YouTube and seen a couple of the bootlegs because I just wanted to relive that moment again. Every crowd is losing their shit.
Yeah.
It's so great.
But I'm the way that they've built and centered for Black Panther, he's easily one of my favorites of all of these films.
Oh yeah,
I'm outright.
So the fact that they've only got basically the three of them on that battlefield, and he and his sister and his highest ranking guard, or however you want to word that, general. Yeah, the fact that the three of them are the first ones through, I just like, he's at that level.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's on that level.
It's the only MCU film to be Oscar nominated. So yeah.
It actually feels like once you see Black Panther on the field, you're like, you breathe a sigh of relief. Like,
it's gonna be okay. Everything's
thank God,
right.
Right. He's at least gonna help.
And then
he's got that fucking that concussive blast thing that really fucking is awesome.
Yeah.
So great. The biggest pop of the whole fucking movie that I've seen.
Yes.
From everything I've watched is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh God, I'm gonna cry.
Other than Black Panther, Spider-Man was the biggest pop.
Yep.
Yeah. The Saturday night showing it was Spider-Man just comes swinging through, and the fucking crowd went ballistic.
He's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He is, you know? People fucking love Spider-Man, and I do too.
And then, we get all the scores and scores of Wakandans and warriors, and then you get all of the
Marauder or the Ravagers.
Yeah.
Don't they come through?
And then we get that sweeping shot, which is like every poster ever.
Yeah.
For Marvel.
Yeah.
Of all of the good guys just on one side of the battlefield, and it gets all the way to Cap, where after he says Avengers, and it gets right on his face, and he's like, assemble.
No one can handle it.
I want to take a real quick minute and just talk about Alan Silvestri. He's the composer.
Yeah.
And this was easily one of the best movie scores that I've ever heard, because there's a way to compose a score so that it's just there, or there's a way to compose a score so that it helps to hit emotionally, and he did that with this film, and I'll talk about it a little bit later as well with what happens at the end of the film. But he did Avengers, he did Captain America: The First Avenger, and then he did Infinity War in this, and that's some of the best music out of all the MCU. That guy fucking nailed it, and I hope they continue to use him, because the funny thing is he did the Back to the Future movies too.
Oh,
really?
That's better.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just an in-joke to say "fuck you" to him, like the way we say "fuck you" to Andrew all the time, but we don't really mean it.
But yeah, no, he did the Back to the Future scores. He did Predator. He's done a ton of great shit, but this is obviously the biggest thing he's ever done.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm a huge soundtrack and score nerd, so I just wanted to say real quick that he did an amazing job with this movie.
It's so... I've never seen a movie with so many hype moments that just gets everybody going like this. and it's just a testament to the last 11 years.
Absolutely.
You know, these
and that moment.
I mean, this is a sequel. This is a sequel to 21 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had talked earlier, prior to recording, about one of my friends, Sarah, asked, "What movies do I need to see before going to see Endgame?"
Yeah,
and we had talked a little bit about it before seeing the movie, and we were like, "Oh, well, definitely, probably Avengers, Age of Ultron, Civil War, and Infinity War, Guardians, but afterwards."
You need to see all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to see like everything because
it is a
You need to see all of them.
It's a 22 chapter story.
There's
I don't know. So that's the thing too, because a lot of people asked me that, like separate from us, asked me like, "Well, what movies do I have to see?" If you haven't watched all of them, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
They're hearing the hype that this is the biggest movie of all time, and it's like, well, I don't want to be left out.
Trust me, there are several within the pantheon that I don't need to watch again.
Yeah.
But you have to have seen them once.
Absolutely.
You have to have the I get. All right, we were here, and let's continue forward. You can return to the ones that you liked, sure, absolutely, and you could not return to the ones that you didn't like, absolutely. But you have to fucking watch all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if you get to this movie and you haven't seen all of the chapters of the story, some of these emotional moments aren't going to hit for you.
Even fucking Iron Man 3 has things that inform this film. So
yeah. It's amazing.
Fucking crazy.
It's amazing. And my cousin had said, he had said, it's almost as if the writers challenged themselves to say, how well do we know our own movies?
Right? Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Is that they went, but how well do we know them? We know they know them. How well do we know them?
So just to get back to the battle, as we're getting before the battle even starts, we're getting through that whole pantheon. Completely did not see it coming, and people popped for it almost as hard as Spider-Man. Fucking Pepper Potts in Iron Man armor.
Just about to say that people lost
Yep.
their shit.
That was fucking great.
Your mother never wears what I buy her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she never wears what I buy.
An anniversary gift.
It's cool because like the Spider-Man one was like the expected, but like you're so ecstatic that he's back.
Yeah.
But the Pepper one was like a complete surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
like
it's fucking on.
The two reactions sound the same, but they're completely different places.
Absolutely.
They're coming from. You're like, fucking Pepper's here?
It was.
We couldn't even get her in half of these movies.
It was everyone.
Yeah.
It was everyone. I can't believe we didn't have like Happy out there in a fucking Maserati running people over.
Oh fuck.
He's like, name tag. Let me see the name tag.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they didn't have Noob from the Vindicators out there mopping up. You know,
Taser face.
Sorry. Taser.
Oh shit,
dude. But then they just fucking charge at each Avengers assemble.
Immediately when they start running at one another, I noticed that it was basically the core four were together, and of all the people in the pantheon of people that returned, fucking M'Baku is right next to Captain America.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude,
I was like, yeah!
Dude's behind me to the left.
Love that character.
One yelled out, M'Baku!
Yeah. He's got his big club with that huge globe thing on the end of it, and he's just sprinting almost as fast as Captain America is.
Because you're like, oh,
and then they kind of pull the camera out a little bit, and you see Black Panther hit it down a little bit further on that line. But they fucking wall of death. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then here comes like that moment with fucking Sam when he just dives into the dude and shoves both of his wings into him. There's a few people in the theater who was like, oh shit.
Ant-Man punching a fucking Leviathan out of the sky.
That was awesome.
Because like finally they have something to even the odds on those fuckers.
Yeah.
When he becomes Giant
Man,
it's amazing.
Pick him up and toss him.
When he bursts through the top and he's holding all three of them. Does Rhodey get back in his armor, or was he already in his armor?
He got like new armor.
He got new armor.
Evidently, yeah. They didn't. That might be part of one of the scenes that they cut. But yeah, he got some armor from within the Avengers facility.
And it looked like that was like his Iron Patriot armor.
Yeah.
Badass. Like,
and
it was like it almost seemed like it was an upgraded Iron Patriot armor. Yeah,
and there was the the little callback where it's Rocket on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on his back, yeah.
Yeah, when he's recreating that scene with Groot.
And I really loved, and you might be surprised that I'm going to even say this, because I did not enjoy Ragnarok. We've talked about it. I thought it was awesome that we got Valkyrie on a Pegasus.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Flying into the Leviathan with her staff thing that she's got, just tearing it apart.
Yeah, it takes the whole fucking thing out.
Takes the whole thing down. I thought that was fucking amazing.
So there's two segments that I want to talk about. So first is that we got Scarlet Witch.
Dude.
Fucking Thanos up. And
I loved that scene.
I can't stand it when people say shit like this, but I found myself saying this in that first showing. I was like, get it, girl. Get it, girl. Yeah. Like, I was like, do it. Like, I thought the movie was going to end there. Because I was like, she's going to fucking kill him.
They don't understand just how powerful Scarlet Witch actually is.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody understands.
A lot of people can't really, unless you read the comics, you can't really wrap your head around it. And they she was just like, you took everything from me. And just as soon as she started floating up in the air, like, oh, she's going to fuck up Thanos by herself.
And she did.
Yeah. The only thing that saved him was the bombardment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just rained fire. Just rain the fire. And he's like, but sir, our troop. He's like, fuck our troop.
She's disintegrating me. Do it.
Literally.
She was peeling his fucking armor off.
I was so thrilled with Scarlet Witch in this movie.
I'm getting chills again,
the
dude.
Short amount of time that she had on screen. Absolutely. She could very well be the most powerful Avenger.
Absolutely. And if they go forward with her in the movies, not just on Disney Plus, then I can't wait to see what they do with her.
Yeah.
I love Elizabeth Olsen. I love Wanda in the MCU. I know she's not the classic mutant, hopefully when the X-Men eventually get introduced, maybe that'll be something.
Now I'm hoping that they eventually introduce Magneto and Polaris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For her as her father and her sister.
That would be great.
Scarlet Witch, she's an Inhuman, right? In the MCU? Or is she they haven't classified her at all. She's just a
product the ushering in of the Age of Miracles.
Yeah, she was a product of the experimentation with the Scepter, which is the Mind Stone.
Okay. All right. So she's like a human mutate, kind of, like Spider-Man.
Whatever Captain Marvel is, that's what she is.
Okay. Yeah, like a mutate.
Because they're basically the same thing.
Well, not whatever Captain Marvel is.
But after Captain Marvel shows up, because we really don't need to, she just shows up and blows shit up.
That was a cool moment.
It's the exact same scene from Captain Marvel.
It was a cool moment, but like Rob just said, that's exactly what she did at the end of Captain Marvel. Just flew through a fucking ship, which again was cool, but it's just like, okay, so that's all you do.
And when the cannons go from the ground to the sky, and you could hear her like sonic booming through the different atmospheres or whatever you want to call that. I know that she's in the movie, but I still was like, who's that?
Yeah,
me too.
I couldn't figure out who it was.
Once I
was like, are they going to introduce somebody new? Awesome! Oh, it's Captain Marvel.
Once I saw her glow, of course, I knew that was her. But before that, I thought they were going to shoot at a helicarrier coming through the. I thought that was going to be how we got
Nick
Fury and Maria Hill back.
Here comes Adam Warlock. Finally going to pay that off.
Andrew's been pushing for Adam Warlock for like 6 years now.
Beta Ray
Guardians
Bill.
3. We're going to get it in Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So.
And Beta Ray Bill?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
we've got Stormbreaker now.
Yeah.
But after Captain Marvel shows up, we get a fucking A-Force moment, which I also popped hard for. That was fucking awesome.
We skipped over because Clint has the gauntlet. He has all the Infinity Stones, and he's trying to break his way out, and he gets knocked down, and then Black Panther's like, give it to me.
Yep.
And it's
greatest handoff in sports.
It's fucking on at that point.
But seeing like all of them like bounce around, going from Black Panther to Spider-Man to Valkyrie, like to,
what does he say?
Pepper.
He was like, "I like your steed."
When Spider-Man got it, and he was like, "Activate
instant kill."
Oh,
instant kill.
Yep.
And his eyes get fucking red.
And
I was like, "Oh!"
The Iron Spider legs come out and just start poking it. What does he say when he gets on Valkyrie's Pegasus? He's like, "Oh, cool! I like your steed." And then she likes flying around with him.
And then she like drops down, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
when he lands, so I'll say this: I wasn't a fan of Captain Marvel. I wasn't a fan of Captain Marvel in this movie, except for her scene with Peter Parker.
Yeah. I thought that was great. Hey, Hi. Peter Parker.
That was the only time I ever saw any emotion.
Got something for me?
She was like endearing and funny.
Yeah.
And like you could get that she fits in that scene.
Yeah. Yep. In that like 4 seconds that we got.
Because he's just laying there and he's like, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker."
And then seeing the like all of the female characters, that was really cool.
She's got backup. So, yeah. That was fucking
an amazing moment.
And then Scarlet Witch takes out a Leviathan. Then Valkyrie takes out a Leviathan, and you just see Okoye drop fucking Corvus Glaive. God damn, that was fucking great. And then Thanos ruins their little plan to try and get the stones back into the quantum tunnel in the van. But then it's just Captain Marvel versus Thanos. And for a second, you're like, we're just going to see her wipe the floor with him. And then he realizes, I can just take a Power Stone and just punch you in the face with that.
I like that he like headbutts her and she doesn't even flinch, and he's like, all right, plan B.
That got a huge pop in my theater.
Yeah. Well, because it's a cool moment.
Yeah.
Because he's so fucking arrogant. He's like, okay, just a little girl. I'm just going to boom. Oh, shit. But then I've got the Power Stone in my other hand, and that's going to punch you in the face.
And Doctor Strange holds up the one finger.
One finger.
And Tony charges at that gauntlet.
I am inevitable. And then he snaps and he looks back. All of the fucking gems are forming into his hand, and he looks at him and says, "I am Iron Man."
Oh,
fuck.
That landed for everyone. I immediately started to cry. I was like, "Oh my god!"
I'm not lying. I got tears in my eyes right now. Actually,
I'm
replaying that scene over.
Yep. It's rough.
I remember seeing the first Iron Man movie in 2008. I remember seeing it and thinking I remember seeing the trailer and seeing oh my god, this new thing. Why the fuck are they making an Iron Man movie? That's weird, but it looks cool. And then cut to a third of my life later has been in these movies, and it's I'm into comic books and stories. They're very, very important to me. And this scene in particular, out of the whole movie, is this culmination of a very large portion of my life feeling like it kind of it was the end of an era,
Well said.
And it was done so perfectly. Basically, it's something that I hold in very high regard, and it means a lot to me that it was treated with such care, and it felt like an appropriate end for this era.
And especially it is an end because we come to immediately find out after watching Thanos' army disintegrate and his ships and everything, so none of that technology can be used then. That's good. By anyone going forward. That it fucked Tony up.
I love the scene with Thanos, though, when he's just kind of looking around and he's just breathing really heavy and just...
I lost. Time to just sit down and take it.
And he just disintegrates.
Yeah. In the first show, the premiere night showing, people were like, "Fuck you!" That's right, like stuff like that. Like it was a catharsis to see him fucking go.
But what did it cost?
Everything.
Fuck.
I thought it was very cool to see Rhodey was the first one to be next to Tony.
Yeah. He had a good moment with all of them.
Rhodey, and then Peter.
And he knew, and Rhodey immediately knew.
Yeah.
Oh, and Peter just comes down. He's like, "Mr. Stark," and he calls him Tony at one point.
He calls him Tony at the very
end.
And his voice is cracking, and he's crying.
And then Pepper shows up.
And Pepper just kind of...
"We're going to be okay."
Yeah. Oh.
But when she's like, the way you can see he's out of it, and she's like, "Can you hear me?" And he just he doesn't even say yes. He just kind of nods and mouths the word yes. Because he's so fucked up
dying
from the...
I lost it. I really lost it when she said we're going to be okay.
Gwyneth Paltrow sold that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazingly. So well. Her emoting made me feel so many things. I was sad, I was happy, I was relieved.
Right.
But like they did it, you know? And and her telling Tony, you can rest now. You can finally rest. Because he was legitimately losing sleep in Iron Man 3 over the New York situation.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And she had said that earlier in the film when he was wrestling with the time travel, should I do this? She's like, you don't have to, but would you be able to rest?
Yeah.
And now he can.
Oh.
Damn it.
Just the way
it was perfect.
She looks at him, because you can tell she's doing everything to hold it together, and when she just looks at him and smiles and says, we're all going to be okay. And then she kind of puts her hand over, he takes her hand and it's over the arc reactor. Oh, fuck. And then the light...
that nano chamber thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then the light fades. And dead silence in the theater.
Absolutely.
And there was people crying. I hear people behind me, like, sniffing and trying to hold it together. I look over and Michelle is crying. My sister, who I also saw with, is crying. The dude next to me is just, like, perfectly stiff, eyes wide open and glossy. I'm doing the best I can to keep it together. Even now, I'm like shaking thinking about it, but...
So maybe it's the Italian in me. I just let go.
Yeah, I let go.
I just fucking let go, and that's 3 times in a row now. The hit has not lessened with each time. No. So every time I put on Blu-ray, I'm gonna be a fucking blubbering mess.
Yep. Yeah. And then they have the funeral scene for him.
Well, we get a voiceover by him.
Yeah.
As
he's
we see,
explaining. Yeah, it's his like last will and testament, but he did it in like a hologram.
Yep.
I love you 3000.
Oh my god!
but
that
that's
funeral.
His sacrifice was a callback to Avengers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rob, you sent us that clip.
Yep.
Of him in...
Because when I left the theater Thursday, I just kept thinking, like, he did the one thing that nobody thought he would do. Right. And Cap criticizes him for it in Avengers 1 because they don't know each other. And he's just like, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play.
Yeah.
You're not the guy to lay down on the line and let everybody else climb over.
I would just cut the wire, yeah.
Right. Always, he's like, oh, yeah, always a way out.
Always a way out. Yep. Always got an answer.
And Tony decidedly changed that.
Yep.
He finally... I mean, he's been a hero... He's not necessarily a reluctant hero. He loves the attention and everything that comes with it. But after New York, I think his opinion kind of changed on what was going on, and he wanted to figure a way to get his own personal self out of it for his relationship and otherwise, and because he can't physically do it anymore. And then he gets pulled back in by the shit that's going down, because he's just like, I can't stand idly by and let this happen. And then he is the one to correct the course that he put everyone on, which I think is one of the best cyclical full circle storytelling moments I think we've ever gotten.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. When you have an Infinity War, you have a character like Captain America say outright that when Tony went up in the ship, he said outright, Earth just lost its greatest defender. When you have a character like Captain America saying that says something,
Yeah.
And he ended up being Earth's greatest defender.
Yeah.
He saved the universe.
Yep.
I keep replaying that moment over and over in my head when Strange just holds up one finger. Tony charges Thanos and gets it and just looks at him on the ground because he's all fucked up because he just got punched by Thanos. And he just holds his hand up and you see the armor taking in the gems, the stones.
Yeah. As
he's saying that I am Iron Man. Fuck.
It's a great moment.
It's an unbelievable moment.
Then we have the funeral on where Tony's cabin is. Yeah. And I thought that was the way that was shot. It was like, we've all seen funeral scenes or stuff like that in comic books, like Superman's funeral for a friend and stuff like that. Mm. That they could have put panels on that as it went back, and you saw each group paying homage, whether it's the Guardians, whether it's Clint's family. whether it's the Wakandans, I thought that was so.
I loved
so fucking well.
I loved especially that it was one take.
Yeah, me too.
And they just pushed through the group, and it seemed like, in a certain way, they had lined everybody up, like immediate group to him, and then back.
Yeah.
So then from there, we go to Cap going to return the stones.
Yep.
And Mjolnir.
And I think it was super interesting how they were like asking Banner, like, how long is this going to take? And he's like, for him, as long as it takes.
Yep.
For us, 5 seconds. And it took as long as it needed to.
So Sam, said, I wish I was coming with you. He's like, no, I gotta do this. And
like, he says,
Sam
you're a good man, Sam.
Yeah, and Sam didn't realize, but Bucky did.
Yeah.
Bucky knew.
Oh,
Bucky knew.
100%. 100% knew. And then they did that. They repeated those lines, and then Cap got on the thing and went away.
Yep.
And then he didn't come back, and Sam was like getting really hostile towards Hulk, which I thought was
funny. Yeah. Get him the hell back.
And
he's like, he shot right past where he needed to be. I don't know. Like I'm working on we got like a tiny little platform here. It's a little shit.
All the shit we need is behind us, being airlifted out by construction crews, and helicopters.
Yeah. Bucky sees him, right?
Bucky notices him.
Bucky sees Cap sitting on a bench,
and he's just like Sam.
When you just it just cuts over, and you see an old man sitting there, and you heard audible gasp in the theater, and a few people like, no.
Kappa, and this was, I mean, everything up to this point is phenomenal, right? But this is my favorite moment of the film.
Okay.
Is that Cap gives Sam the shield.
And Sam is also standing on his left.
Yep, he comes up on his left.
And Sam is on his left again.
Try that on.
And he gives him the shield because it's the shield from his past that became his future. Yeah. So the shield's not destroyed. It's not fucked up in any way. He's kept it for this long and passes it off to Sam and says it's yours.
But I just like how incredulous Sam is. It's like, yeah, all right. And he just the dawning realization, and he's kind of like, I can't. And then he
says, it feels like it's someone else's.
Yeah.
And then Cap goes, it isn't.
And then he just quietly says, thank you. Right?
Cap shakes his hand.
Yeah.
And puts his left hand on top of Sam's, and you see his
wedding ring.
Very, very noticeable wedding ring. And Sam goes, You want to tell me about her? And he goes, No.
I don't think I will.
I don't think I will.
Fucking, I love that.
Yep.
And then cut to Cap went back and got what he ultimately wanted and deserved.
Yeah, he got his last dance.
Forever. Yeah. It's my favorite through line through all of these movies, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely.
I was thinking about it last night too when I saw it for the second time. Like during that long dolly in to the window where you see them dancing, where the music's playing, and I was like, this guy has lost so much.
He gave up everything.
And finally, he gets what he's always wanted, which was Peggy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And he deserves it. He deserves it so much. And he finally got his piece.
I'm glad they didn't just kill him off.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought that's what they were going to do when we knew that Downey Jr.'s contract was up and that Evans' contract was up and that they both said that they were pretty much done. I thought they were just going to kill them off both outright, just both making the sacrifice play against Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so nice and really beautiful to see that done for Cap, that he got to, I'm going to lose it.
and like I had obviously was already crying from Tony.
Yeah.
But once you see that old car come down the street,
yeah,
I was like, oh my God.
Did you guys? I just read something. Howard the Duck was in the final fight.
What?
I think he was, yeah. Howard the Duck is in the final fight.
I can't wait to get this fucking thing on Blu-ray.
with the remaining Ravagers. They have fucking Howard the Duck in there.
Oh, that's fucking great.
So I thought that was really cool how they retconned to get Gamora back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a new Gamora.
Well, it wasn't a retcon.
See, I thought that's what they were going to do, was just retcon her in. It's Gamora from the past. We're going to throw them all together, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, but she's not the same person.
But she's not there.
Exactly. But I'm saying I like the way that they did it.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
to get her back into the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just was mad at the end when I found out that she actually wasn't there.
Because she's not their Gamora. She has none of the personal connections to any of the Guardians.
She's not at the funeral with them.
Yeah, no.
Right.
And when she first sees, or when Peter Quill first sees her, and he's just, I love that, and he's like, that's actually, it was a really emotional scene. He's like, oh my god, Gamora. And then she fucking knees him in the nuts, and he's like, the first time you missed, and then the second time you got them both.
But yeah, I mean, the Cap thing for me was the moment, like Tony's death, and then the situation with Captain America passing the mantle along after having lived his entire life now.
Yeah, the way he was originally meant to.
Right.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been better. Honestly, I don't think either of those moments could have been any better. I think they did a fantastic job.
That the way it literally ends when it goes to credits is the reason why I need the entire credits, regardless of there being not being a post-credit scene. Why I need the entire credits to compose myself, because the way that ends, I'm bawling. You know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will say, as much as I love that moment, and it is such a beautiful, perfect fucking moment, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm fine with that. Because it is such a pitch perfect ending for Cap.
So I'm assuming that all of like the original Avengers are pretty much done.
Yeah.
Like Hulk.
Other than Hulk
isn't really there, but Hulk's not going to get his own movie.
What are they going to do?
No, but he'll still show up in fucking crossover team up films.
Yeah. And Thor will, but Black Widow's done.
Barton's
done.
I can't imagine Barton's ever going to leave that farm again.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I view that's his story, and his story's now done.
Yeah.
So Rob and I have already explained our favorite scenes.
Oh man.
Andrew, Brian, if you had to pick at least one to be one of your favorites, what would it be?
That portal scene when they all come through the sling ring portals is so goosebump inducing and so emotionally satisfying. I guess I'll have to go with that. But really that whole third act is almost inseparable for me.
Yeah.
It all just flows right into everything else, and it all gets one-upped by the next thing. It's just fucking amazing.
Yep.
Just hearing
Andrew?
Sam say "on your left," but
yeah,
I think my favorite scene would have to be once Tony gets the Infinity Stones and then just says, he looks at him, and Thanos knows there's nothing he can do, and he just, when he says the words, "I am Iron Man," and then snaps.
Yep.
And plus, this was the first time Cap ever said "Avengers Assemble," right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he would have said it as they were assembling.
Yeah.
Not after they had assembled.
It's whatever.
It was a punctuation.
Yeah, that's totally parsing what it was.
That's like saying, like, there was probably a lot of awkwardness once Hulk did the snap to bring everybody back. There were a lot of people that just showed up in craters and showed up in beds that weren't theirs now,
Right.
There's a lot of awkward situations that happened there, but
yeah, and I think part of me was kind of upset that we didn't get to see everybody like regenerate.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, I don't know how they could explain it or do it in a way that made everybody happy.
And it would have taken away from the flow of that third act. That entire third act had to happen all there.
I think the way that Peter Parker explained it to Iron Man, like, I must have fell asleep because the next thing I know, I woke up.
Yeah.
We're going to get, hopefully, a lot of answers to what is going to happen going forward with the MCU in August at D23. That's
in August.
I believe it is. Yeah. It might be in July after Far From Home, but it's definitely either July or August.
Well, they already said that Far From Home is the last movie in phase
of phase 4 or phase 3. Sorry, yeah. It is not.
They're no longer doing phases,
right?
Huh.
But that doesn't stop the fact that there are several properties that they have potential to move forward with, and I really hope that they do.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I would love a Doctor Strange 2, because there's a lot of untapped potential in
that's
that
confirmed.
Character.
And we're getting Guardians 3.
We're getting Guardians 3 and Black Panther 2 as well.
And we'll obviously get a Spider-Man, a third Spider-Man as well, because they're not going to not do that.
With hopefully Norman Osborn.
So yeah, that has been episode 15. Thanks for hanging around with us.
Thanks for dealing with us.
Hope you guys got as emotional as we did.
Honestly, it was more than a film. It was an experience. I know that sounds really douchey to say, but it's true.
You're totally right.
Endgame, I mean, it's because it is such a culmination of 11 years, 21 films that were prior to it, and so countless characters, that, it really was a journey. And I can't think of a way that I would have done anything differently to wrap it all up. It was perfect. It really was. With its warts and all, it was perfect.
I hope that people that don't really read the comics or anything like that, I hope they now know how people like us feel after experiencing something like this.
Yeah.
That these stories and characters are important.
No, fiction is important, This is our we don't have mythology like the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks have. This is our mythology.
Yeah. It's important. Makes us feel, you know what I mean? It in some cases makes people want to go out and be better. It can inspire you.
And if you're a person that listens to this that puts spoilers in comment sections, you could go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I hope you get hit by a fucking car.
That's a heel turn.
Fucking waste of oxygen.
They were talking about such uplifting stuff, and then they wanted people to go commit suicide. It's such a strange turn.
Yeah. God. Anyway.
Only if you post spoilers in comments.
Fucking 13-year-old edgelord, eat shit.
All right, well.
And I'm so glad that I saw it Thursday. I'm so glad that I saw it Thursday.
Me too.
I'll end it with this.
Yeah.
Because Friday morning at 5:30, there was a fucking post about the NFL draft, and in the comment section, this guy was like, I really can't believe they went with this pick, and then also, just so you know, Black Widow and Tony died.
God damn it.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? If I didn't see it Thursday and I waited till Saturday like I initially intended to, I would have
been livid.
Directly messaged that guy and tried to get his address.
Dude, Michelle, my girlfriend, the day we were going to see the movie was just looking up GIFs like, oh, Thanos, I'm going to, in a conversation. And there was a GIF that just said, spoiled. And it was Thanos disintegrating and Iron Man snapping.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So she calls me and is like, baby, I just saw a really big spoiler for the movie and I feel like crying.
Oh.
Also, the internet is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So for Pop Cannon, I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Brian.
Yay. Not since 9/11 have Americans come together
God.
so strongly.
I swear to God, one of these days we'll figure out how to end one of these episodes.
How are you feeling post-Endgame? Did you cry for the last 45 minutes or so? Were you one of the people that needed medical attention during the film? There were legit reports of this happening. There was a friend of the podcast that had such an intense anxiety attack after the film, they weren't able to get to sleep till 4 a.m. the night they saw it. In short, it was a fucking experience. How was it for you? Did you love how Tony ultimately became selfless while Cap went to a more self-serving goal? Was that perfect? Did you have some issues? Did the time travel mess you up? Let us know. Let us know. We want to hear from you. You think we're right? We are. You think we're wrong? We're not. Tell us. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube by searching Pop Cannon Podcast and let us know. Make sure you're putting a K in Kannon because we can't make anything too easy for you. Seek us out, follow us, like our pages, comment, tweet, retweet, subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. We're on all your favorites, and if we're not, we'll figure out how to be, so just let us know. And if you want to hear more from us individually, you're more than welcome to. I, Robert, am on Twitter and Instagram at Yesball. Jordan is on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS. Andrew is on Twitter at flavored_red and Instagram at Android Skeleton. Check out his art too, he'd love that. And following Brian this episode is a bit difficult. We had him right in our grasp. We were going to take him back to Asgard to answer for his crimes, but Tony Stark had a minor heart attack related to his life-saving arc reactor, and the case with the cosmic cube suddenly burst open. Brian, whose mouth was still bound and handcuffed, picked it up and disappeared. No idea what reality he went to. We hope he returns soon because we need to record new episodes for you people. What a disaster. Maybe Brian's adventures with the Cosmic Cube will be portrayed on the Disney Plus streaming service. That's all from us for now. Stay tuned for more S1E1 episodes, a John Wick 3 review, and a Godzilla King of the Monsters review. All coming soon.